shadow in the attic. I moved into my new home with my wife and children a few months ago. The house was perfect, or so we thought. However, strange things started happening soon after we moved in. The first thing we noticed was a strange shadow that would occasionally appear in the attic window at night. It would move and twist in unnatural ways, like it was alive. I tried to ignore it at first, thinking it was just my imagination. But soon, I started hearing strange noises coming from the attic, like someone was walking around up there. My wife heard them too, and we both felt a sense of unease every time we walked by the door that led to the attic. One night, I decided to investigate. I climbed up to the attic, and that's when I saw it. The shadow was no longer just a shadow, but a dark figure that was standing in the corner of the room, watching me. I was frozen with fear, but I knew I had to get out of there. I turned to run, but something grabbed my ankle and pulled me back. I fell to the ground, and the figure started moving towards me, its dark form looming over me. I managed to crawl away and get out of the attic, but I knew that we were not alone in that house. The figure in the attic continued to haunt us, and we started experiencing even more terrifying things, like objects moving on their own and strange whispers in the middle of the night. We tried to ignore it and convince ourselves that it was all in our heads, but it only got worse. My wife started seeing the figure too, and she started having nightmares about it. Our children refused to sleep in their rooms, and we had to let them sleep in our bed. I started researching the history of the house, hoping to find some explanation for what was happening. It didn't take long for me to find out that the previous owners had left the house in a hurry, and they had left all of their belongings behind. One day, while exploring the basement, I found an old journal that belonged to the previous owner. As I started reading it, I realized that they had experienced the same things we were experiencing now. The journal was filled with descriptions of strange shadows, objects moving on their own, and whispers in the night. The previous owner had also gone up to the attic to investigate, but they never came back down. Their body was found days later, and the cause of death was never determined. We knew then that we had to leave the house. We packed up our things and left that night, never looking back. Years later, I still have nightmares about the shadow in the attic. I never knew what happened to it after we left the house, but I hope that it stays there, trapped in the attic forever. Daily horror stories that happened to me. Another day, another story.